Hello everyone, this is HGJ Halloween, and today I am going to be doing a review on Menacing Molly. So normally the style of video that I would do for this is I would base it off of 5 things, and it could get 1 star, half a star, or no star for each category. And what I was realizing was that a lot of my reviews were coming out at the same 4.5, 5-star rating. So instead of doing that, this year I'm going to be doing a 10 category review, and you can get 0 to 10 points for each category. So it's going to come out at a 100% scale, and it's going to be somewhere in between 0 and 100, which is going to be a lot more precise and accurate to allow you guys to compare the props that I'm reviewing. So the first category is setup. Now, the setup on this one was not complicated. It is a lot like Broken Spine Girl with the hooks and everything, and if you haven't checked out my setup video, then go ahead and check that out. But basically all you had to do was put a few poles together and screw them in. Now those screws were really tough to get in at first, so I will say that that's something they needed to work on because it was easy to strip them, which you don't want to do because then you won't be able to get them back out to put her away. But other than that, it wasn't that complicated. I did do it really late at night, and there was a lot of takes that you guys didn't see where I was messing stuff up. But if you're in your right mind and it's not 2 o'clock, it wasn't that complicated. One other thing that they do need to do is put a front label on the front, even though the front is pretty obvious because the hooks can't connect to the wrong side. But just a few things. So overall, I'm going to be giving her a 9 out of 10 for the setup. So the next category is concept, and this is just the concept of the prop. This has nothing to do with the durability or anything. I mean, obviously it does have to do a little bit with the animation that it does, and concept is what I use to purchase my props. So when I see what they do, and I like what they do, and I like their whole idea and detail and everything put together, that's when I'm going to purchase it. It's hard to tell how good their durability is unless they're broken in store, but you're not really going to base it off of durability, and durability is a very important factor, but I have Menacing Molly because I love her concept. And she bends backwards, she's on a swing. It's not very original because it's basically just putting the swinging zombie girl and Broken Spine Girl together, but her face looks very different than other props. She has those eyes that are much more detailed, and overall, I think her concept is really good and is something that's really new that needed to go into Spirit, so I'm going to be giving her a 10 out of 10 for concept. So the next category that I did have in my previous reviews is price. Price is very important. Is she worth the price? Just because I like the concept, it doesn't mean that she's actually worth the money. Now, I am willing to purchase a prop that I really love if I think that it's worth it, but it all comes down to the animation for the price. So this prop swings, well, not really swings. Her head rocks and her body rocks, so it kind of causes it to swing, but it doesn't have anything up here that actually swings, which the other swing props all have had. Now I don't really care about that because her whole idea is that she bends back. So she also bends backwards and her eyes also light up. And she also has a sensor and a step pad activation, and the adapter comes with it. Now she's $179.99, so basically $180. So for me, this one is the most worth it this year. Now we are going to get to durability, and durability is a factor with is it worth the price, because you don't want to buy something that isn't going to last at all. But in the end, if you take care of your props, they'll all last for as long as you need them to. So for price, this one is probably one of the better ones this year and is the most worth your money, so I am going to give her a 10 out of 10. So the next category that was also in my old reviews is animation. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what she does, and I do have her plugged in right now, which is different than my demo, which she was battery operated, so I think she might even run a little bit better when she's plugged in. So I'm going to go ahead and show you her and then talk about it.
All alone again. I like being alone. I don't need friends.
So as you guys can see, she does have a lot of animation, and this category has nothing to do with is it worth the price, because that's obviously the price category. This is just, is the animation cool? Does it work? Does it all come together and make a cool prop? And for her, I have to say it does. I love the head rocking in the beginning. It's different than the other swinging props we've seen where it actually just swings, and we've never seen a back bend on a swing. And I love how her eyes also light up, and her audio is also pretty good, and that is included in the animation, but I am going to have a category that talks specifically about the audio. So overall for her animation, I am going to give her a 9 out of 10. So the next category that I'm going to talk about is durability, and this is one of the most important ones. Aside from the concept, aside from what it does and everything, we need to talk about, is it going to last? If you're going to pay $180 for something, you're going to expect it to last for a long time. Now, sadly, most props do not last for a long time, especially the backbending props. Broken Spine Girl, which is the closest thing that we've seen to Menacing Molly, was known as the least durable prop Spirit has ever had. It didn't last for even one season for most people. I know mine broke, but that was actually because it fell over, so I can't blame that on the prop itself, but a lot of people's had trouble because it is plastic gears and it's bending and having to lift, and there's not enough counterweight, and it is a really fidgety and not very good system. Now, Menacing Molly, I do have to say, is also going to be the least durable prop in Spirit this year, if not the least durable prop of all time. Now, although she is not broken in the story yet, and Forest Demon is for some reason broken, so maybe he also is really crappy, her mechanism is really poor. I was hoping, since it's not made by Techie, that they were going to have a better mechanism for her and that Crazy Create was going to improve, but no, they stole the exact same design, the exact same hooks, the exact same gears, and they don't even have tape or fabric covering the gears. And if you guys haven't seen Drone Master's video, he was the first person to come out with videos on Menacing Molly. He actually had trouble with these little strings here, and there are a lot of these, and I'm going to show you about that, getting caught in her motor, which is what caused her to die. And they don't even have fabric protecting that from happening. So she's even worse than Broken Spine Girl. Not to mention, she isn't even stable. She's rocking back and forth. Sometimes mine, and you guys have never seen this because I don't film it when it doesn't work, but sometimes mine actually doesn't even go down. Sometimes it's rocking and the motion is going the wrong direction at the last second, and she'll go like this and then scream and not go down. And that is something that you don't want a prop to do. You don't want to not know when it's going to work or when it's not, because then people are going to walk through your haunted house and say, what is this crappy haunted house? Why is this thing not working? And it just makes it look less realistic. And so my Menacing Molly hasn't broke yet, but I do have problems with her working perfectly every time. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about to preserve her is, number one, put tape on the gears. Now, this is something I'm going to show you. She has this cut in her dress in the back, and this, I think, is just to keep the front looking good and also not like have this taut and pulling back the whole thing. It's like a separate piece of fabric here, but the fact that it's cut right here leaves all of these little strings, and the gears right there are exposed. Now, as you can see, I have put some clear tape on there so that it's going to lessen the chance of them getting caught. So that's one thing that you have to watch out for. And another thing is, every time she comes down, lift her up. Before Halloween, lift her up, because you don't want to put any strain on those gears. Now, before, I had actually said that my hands on her were a lot higher, and I didn't notice that there was a problem, but a lot of you guys were saying she wasn't going down as far or as fast, and now she does go down a lot farther. Also, these zip ties up here are a little bit not secure, and they just kind of have you put those on your own. But Halloween Haunt guy, who I've been talking to about this, I thought that it was better to have them higher up because it doesn't have to lift its body as far, but he actually thinks that it's a better idea to keep them lower so that when it bends, the gears aren't turning and can't go anywhere, which also is probably a good point. So I will be keeping them lower, but like I said, it will have to lift higher. So you need to make sure that you're pushing her up when it's not Halloween time, because every time it runs, it's probably going to get worse and worse. So overall, Menacing Molly, I love her. She's a great prop, but her durability is just not there. We haven't seen any improvement from Broken Spine Girl. In fact, we've seen a disimprovement. It's gone downhill. So for durability, I am going to have to give her a 5 out of 10. This is one that I have not done before, but it is something that I also think is important to talk about. Now, it's sort of included in durability, but, I mean, not in durability, in animation, but for animation, I'm more talking about its motion and everything, and the audio is something that's sort of overlooked, because as long as it has audio, I just normally include that as a positive in the animation. But we do need to talk about the audio on its own, because a lot of spirit props this year have had strange voices that aren't that good, and a lot have also had repeated voices that we've heard over and over and over again, and they're getting a little bit annoying. Now, Menacing Molly does have 4 phrases that are all original. A lot of people don't like her evil voice when she comes down, and I'm going to activate her once just so you can hear what she sounds like before I talk further.
I see dead people, I see ghosts, I see the things that hate you the most.
So, as you can see, she has this little girl voice that isn't possessed, and then she screams. Now, you couldn't hear her evil voice in that because that was her one phrase that doesn't have the evil voice after the scream. But a lot of people are saying that the evil voice doesn't sound that good. It basically is just the other voice, and you can sort of start to hear that it's a voice actor. It just doesn't sound as good as they could have made it. So it's not my favorite, but personally, her audio has sort of grown on me. I like her phrases. One of her phrases is a little bit weird. She says, like, I like being alone until I need to feed again. That just seems a little bit, I don't know, that one was a little bit strange. And the whole thing about, like, I see the things that hate you the most was also a little bit strange and childish, and a lot of people were mentioning that, but she is like a little girl, so I don't really have a problem with that. One thing that I do have a problem with is that her scream is exactly the same as Broken Spine Girl, and not only Broken Spine Girl, Twitching Banshee was another one that had the same scream, so I don't know why they can't just record another scream that's original. They could have made her so much better, and I personally have Broken Spine Girl, Twitching Banshee, and her, because they're all great props, but they have the exact same scream, so that's also a negative. So overall for her audio, I like it, but not a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7. The next thing I'm going to talk about is detail, which is something that I've always talked about because it's something that's extremely important. You don't want a prop that doesn't look real or looks very crappy and not professional. So the first thing, obviously, is the hands. The hands do look pretty good. I think they definitely look like hands. I think they actually look much better than Swinging Zombie Girls. If I remember right, hers, like, the mold that they used didn't come out perfectly, and they weren't smooth. They just kind of looked weird, and they had certain parts that were sticking out, and it didn't look perfect. These, I do have to say, almost look completely perfect, except for this one. It looks like that was supposed to be inverted, and it's kind of coming out, but no one's gonna notice that small of a detail. Now, the other thing is that the sleeve actually fell down, and part of the detail that we do need to talk about is the foam itself. The foam is black, which is great. If the foam was white, that would be a minus for her, because even when the sleeves fall, you almost can't even tell, especially in the dark. But that would actually have to do with durability, that they didn't stay up. So I had to bobby pin them. But that's a plus that the foam is black. Now, the main thing when we talk about detail is the face. And also her braids are, you know, the hair is generic. Nothing wrong with that. But the main thing we're talking about is the face. Now, this is one of the most detailed faces that we've gotten in a while. And it is sculpted by someone that's really good, and once again, I forget their name, but it's some professional sculptor. She has really detailed eyebrows that are raised like that. a lot of darkening around the eyes, which is common. And just the shape of her face is really good, really little girl-esque. It's a little bit like circular, if you notice. Her mouth is also circular, which is one thing that is, I note, like when I first saw it, looked kind of weird. And she has these like shark tooth, like jagged-edged triangular teeth, which sometimes look a little bit strange, but I think they look good on this prop. And the detail in the mouth is standard, but it's also very good. And she has this like veiny, pale thing going on, a bunch of little crisscrosses that do look sort of unprofessional, but one of the main things that we've seen with her that is different is the eyes. The eyes have actual detail like an eyeball. It's got an iris, a pupil, and it's got like veins in the white part. And in the dark, it is very noticeable that she has those eyes and they light up red. Actually, the red lights up her entire head, which is something that people don't like because it does take attention away from the eyes and also causes problems with whatever lighting you want to use, because normally red would be a good color for her, but it kind of just is too much red when you use that. But she does have a lot of detail, and she looks, I would say, better than Swinging Zombie Girl and Broken Spine Girl, so I'm going to have to give her a 9 out of 10 for detail. The next thing I'm going to rate her on is the scare factor, which was the last thing that I did in my old reviews. Now, of course, you don't want to have a prop that just isn't scary at all. That defeats the purpose, because Halloween is supposed to be scary and you want your haunted house to be as scary as possible. Now, I do have to say, she doesn't really have a jump scare per se, but she has an unexpected movement, even more unexpected than Broken Spine Girl. Broken Spine Girl is facing away from you and something looks fishy, but this one's on a swing, so no one's going to think that it's going to backbend, because it's a very awkward and unexpected movement. But so it is going to be sort of a jump scare and sort of an unexpected thing for people that have not gone to Spirit Halloween. Now I'm going to activate her one more time so you can see exactly how fast she does fall.
Sometimes the other kids look right through me, like I'm not even there. But you know what? Then disappear too.
So she falls fairly fast. Now the one in the flagship store literally seems like it unlatches and the gears just don't have any more grooves and it just falls. And I almost think that that was a prototype and was made differently, but a lot of you were saying that mine doesn't fall as fast or as far, and I think after lowering the hands it does fall a lot farther, but it doesn't fall as fast as the one in store, and maybe even not as fast as some other people's Menacing Mollies, but they're all made a little bit different and work a little bit differently, so that might just be mine. But she is a little bit of a jump scare. She is very scary. You're not expecting it. Her face is freaky. So for scare factor overall, I'm going to have to give her a 10 out of 10. Any little kid is going to cry after seeing this prop. She's definitely not to be messed with. So the next one is a quick one. It's just the clothing, which kind of is included in detail, but I'd like to talk about it as its own category. Now this also includes the fabric here. Now this is pretty standard. It's just cut like this, and we've seen that time and time again, so you know it's not really going to take away or it's not really going to add to it. It looks like some of it's stuck here, but it also has to do with like the shoes and everything like that. So her shoes look pretty good. They're painted and it looks like she has socks on, and once again they've got that black foam that looks a lot like tights, so I really like that. And her clothing is sort of she looks a lot like Wednesday Addams, is what people were saying, who is a character in the Addams Family, I guess, but she's wearing like this schoolgirl black outfit dress thing, so it really does fit her well. I'm glad they didn't go with like a blue or anything like that. She looks like a little innocent schoolgirl wearing like a black dress and with this collar and the buttons and everything. So I do think that her clothing fits her really well, and so for clothing I'm gonna give her a 10 out of 10. Okay, so we're moving on to our 10th and last category, and it is last for a reason. It is disassembly. We had setup as first and disassembly as last. And the reason I've added disassembly is because you don't want a prop that doesn't fit back in the box. A lot of them are very hard to take down. Broken Spine Girl is impossible to get down without help from another person. And Peekaboo Penny was literally impossible to break down because she had a connection that could never be taken apart again. And that is something that I do not like. I understand she has extremely violent movement. She's sort of different, and you can't really rate her about that. But you want to have a prop that you can take down and put back in the box for storage. You don't want to have it sitting up all the time. Now, this one uses screws and not those tabs that were really hard to get out. And those tabs weren't even as strong as the screws are. So I do have to say that you can easily get every single part down. All you have to do is take the screws out, and you're back to square one. So for disassembly, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, only because the screws might be slightly hard to get out without stripping, but overall, you can easily get her down and fit her back in the box. So, this is my first time doing this rating scale. I hope you guys liked it. It is a little bit longer than my older reviews, but the end result is for setup, a 9, for concept, a 10, for price, a 10, for animation, a 9, for durability, a 5, for audio, a 7, for detail, a 9, for scare factor, a 10, for clothing, a 10, disassembly, a 9. Let me know if you guys agree with me in the comment section below. And so her overall score comes out at 88 out of 100, so that is an 88% prop, B+. So she is pretty good. Her main issues seem to be with her durability, and her audio is not very original and sounds a little bit weird at points. But overall, she is a prop that I definitely recommend for the price. As long as you take good care of her, she's one of the best props this year, and I'm sure she's going to sell out. Sadly, her durability is probably also the worst this year, so she has the best and the worst. But I also highly recommend Levitator Girl. We're going to go ahead and do her next. Her videos are coming out very, very soon, and so we're going to go ahead and see in a while later, when I come out with her review, how she compares to Menacing Molly, my 2 favorite props this year. So anyways, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it has helped you decide if you want to get Menacing Molly. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.